Welcome right here, right now, friends, new watchers. I'm David Webb. You're watching Fox Nation's special midterm election coverage. I know it's brand new. It's a surprise for many of you out there, but we're going to give you opinion done right, live for the next 2 hours. We're going to have a look inside at our new Fox Nation streaming platform. Just rolling out in 3 weeks. What an amazing thing. We've had an all-day event out on the Fox Plaza. Let's get started. All right, joining me now, we've got Fox Nation host Tomi Lahren, and Lahren to my left, Todd Starnes, host of Starnes Country on Fox Nation. Imagine that, Todd, country. And nice recording artist who also is capable of singing country as well as doing much more, Kaya Jones, part of the National Diversity Coalition for President Trump. Guys, I got to tell you, this is one heck of a night. Look at it, ladies in red, as the Democrats look to lay out a blue wave across the country. I mean, and seeing what it is. Todd, you're very aptly attired. You wore your tie. You're very, very formal tonight.
Well, thank you. This is my conservative Republican tie. So,
this is my, you know what? I don't want to wear the uniform, shirt open, club collar, Fox Nation pin, and American flag.
Keeping it cool.
That's right.
Yep.
I got to tell you guys, I don't the swag downstairs at Fox Square, that's pretty on point. I mean, they had some pretty nice stuff down there.
Yeah, they've got buttons. They've got buttons that say opinion done right. Look at this, buttons of the ladies right here.
Unbelievable.
We have our
Fox Nation pins, which we're all wearing. See that right there? And because you got to sell the product, and I will put this on in a little while, and good luck getting it back from me. Brand new Fox Nation, a premium for you founders out there. I'll tell you more about that and the case that comes in a little bit later. Here we are. Polls have just closed, and we're beginning this march across the country. We've got a long night ahead of us. We've got lots of opinions out there, but I also want to take a look at what's been going on in this election, the types of races, the changes, what are the surprises? Clearly, it's going to be early for a lot of the numbers. And Todd, by the way, you'll be monitoring the Facebook comments. We're on Facebook. That's where you can watch this. You can watch it on our YouTube. You can also go to foxnews.com. So all of that is out there for you. First, I'll just start right to my left with Tomi. Tomi, first word on tonight's coverage.
So I always like to look at the worst case scenario. So worst case
scenario. Such an optimist.
I mean, we have to plan. Oh, here's a silver lining. Donald Trump is still our president. So there's that. So remember that if tonight doesn't go as planned. But I will say this: if things don't turn out like we hope, we don't get the red wall that we were hoping for, especially in the House, I want folks to remember this. Do not be discouraged, because the first thing that those Democrats are going to do if they do come into power is they're going to try to impeach this president. That is setting us up very well for 2020, because that's their only agenda item. So if things get so bad out there, folks, at least know that the Democrats are going to make fools of themselves for the next couple of years, and it's going to put us in a better spot for the big race in 2020.
Right, but you know, sadly, Todd, and you and I talk about this on radio, and we have over the years, when that kind of fighting happens, the people who pay the price are the American people. Because while politicians argue, people literally pay the price for policy failures, and the Democrats have not run with a policy prescription, they've run with a resist prescription.
Well, that's been their argument all along, is that they still have not recognized that Donald Trump is the duly elected president of the United States. Okay. They've been fighting this president from day one, but beyond that, they know they can't beat the president. So what have they done? They've gone after his supporters. They've called them, xenophobes, homophobes, deplorables, irredeemable.
You're every kind of ism, phobe,
right,
whatever it is.
But the key word is irredeemable, because that implies that these people, the followers of the president, are beyond redemption. And therefore, it's okay with the wink, wink, nod, nod, as Eric Holder said, to go out there and kick them, or like Maxine Waters said, to go out there and absolutely harass them. So look, this is going to be an interesting few hours as we watch these voting results come in. And like Tomi, yes, it's troubling if in fact we lose the House, but we still, I believe, have the Senate. And look, I'm pretty hopeful, guys. I believe that the Republicans are going to hold the House and the Senate tonight.
So, Kaya, one of the things that was misread amazingly in 2016 were the polls. Changing electorate. I'm going to draw a parallel here. And you two ladies are way too young for this. Todd and I are old enough to remember this. The second election of Ronald Reagan was a changing generation because the millennials now reflect the age group, my age group at that time. and they began to see a change in their country, a change in their future, a change in their jobs picture. They began to look at what they wanted, and while we can see people shouting and protesting and, resisting, the fact is younger people are more involved in this election than they think, and more so on the right. So I wonder if that changes anything.
Oh, no, it 100% changes everything. I think that's what's so exciting about this time. It's a time where every single person is so engaged and they want to know what's going on. And that kind of, voracious fury to know what's going on in this country, which is why I think Donald Trump was elected. He was popular, and a lot of people don't want to believe that he was, but he was. He was a bigger, popular celebrity titan when it came to television. He had built an empire. And so that, to me, is why so many people, though they don't want to admit it, he spoke to so many young people. And I think that's the difference between Hillary Clinton, which she didn't. It was it went over everyone's head. So I think I do believe, I'm going to go with you on this one, that we're going to see remaining in the House and remaining in the Senate. I think we actually may pick up some seats in the House.
There's questions of whether Hillary Clinton went around or over their head or behind their back, but that's
and they never
story
reported
from Bernie
anything
Sanders.
correctly. They never reported anything correctly. As we heard, literally up until it was announced on Fox for first time that he was our elected president, he was losing, right? He was losing. He couldn't win. He couldn't win.
It was the predictable outcome of the elections, Tomi, but where we are now, and I guess a question, I'll throw this out to you guys. I've got my opinions on it. I'll wait for yours, then I'm going to go last. That way I get to clean up. Not you, but clean up, bat cleanup. I'm a baseball guy. You get a bat cleanup. But they resisted. But do people recognize who gave them the success? You look at the jobs picture, you look at the economy, you look at the confidence index, you look at all the indices that matter, how people feel, businesses, and you look at the threat to that. Do you think people know who gave them that success? Kaya says it's a big, recognizable figure in the president. Do you think they give him that credit?
Here's the deal. Where I'm from, not where I live now, but where I'm from in the Midwest, they do. Places like California, they don't. I know because I live in California, because you live in Nevada. So I know in California, the messaging is so far left that I think is a lot of the problem. They don't know where the deregulation and the lower taxes are coming from, mostly because in California, we don't have lower taxes. I mean, even if you've got President Trump's tax cuts for 80% of Americans, places like California, we're still struggling. And I don't think people know that it's the Democrats that are overtaxing and regulating them. And they don't know that it's the Republicans and Donald Trump who are trying to ease their burden. So it's a messaging problem.
All right, so I'm going to defend the Central Valley a little bit because I've been out there in Reedley and Fresno and some of those areas. I was just in Napa Valley. There's a lot more, but it's not enough to turn the votes around in Sacramento or the House around. So, Todd.
Yeah, when you look at California, I've spent a lot of time out in California, worked in Sacramento, good, hardworking people there. But Tomi, I mean, you're absolutely right. The people there are, quite frankly, under a regime. I mean, this is a supermajority of Democrats. Look, there was a story that we just posted on my Facebook page a little while ago. Right outside of Gavin Newsom's campaign celebration headquarters, there was somebody shooting up. And right in front of the TV cameras. I mean, this is what
shooting up, to be clear, like drugs, not shooting guns. Yeah,
heroin. Yeah.
I mean, this is an epidemic. Gavin Newsom, who is running for governor there, he has turned that city into a third world cesspool. They actually have what they call poop patrols. They're paying people to clean up human feces from the sidewalks. I mean, this is what people are dealing with in California, and it's beyond me why they continue to elect these Democrats who continue to overtax the people, and they do not take care of the business. You want to know what the problem is here? They talk about, well, we've got to do something to clean up all the needles. Why don't you stop giving away free needles?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, the needle exchange. People that aren't familiar with California, I know there's a lot of people watching that aren't familiar. I know my family in the Midwest, when I tell them what happens in California, they're shocked and they're stunned.
Zones where you can do your drugs freely are being proposed. And by the way, when you
and
look
then they pay someone to clean it up.
Right.
Rather than just not giving it out at all.
Sweet mercy.
Yeah. So now let's start looking at what's going on around the country, because we've kind of given an overview of what's happening. We've got some key races around the country, key states to worry about for the Republicans. And it's not just about the House and the Senate. There's also some key governorships out there, not just Florida, by the way. You're looking around the country, and Republicans have held a majority of governors. That's been good. State legislatures, I've been reddening since basically since the election of Obama. Over 1,000 seats now, well over that, have changed in state legislatures. So the question is the red wave, and I'll go across the table to Kaya for a moment.
Yeah.
The red wave, it takes time to build a wave. And by the way, for you Californians, I know how it works. Right?
But
You got to
Tomi
surf on top of it.
I'm gonna say with Politicon, Tomi, you were speaking. You had multiple panels there. That was more like MAGACon, okay? It was not what I thought was going to be this wave of liberals in the audience. There were some, but it was a lot of people wearing their hats. There were a lot of people that wanted to hear about policy, they wanted to hear about legislation, and they wanted to find out when was Trump coming to Los Angeles. That was interesting to me.
So is that star power or political star power?
Both. He has both. He's proven it. He has star power way before he became the president, but now as president of the United States of America, he's crushing it. He's doing such a good job, and he's not getting the credit for it. And it's unfortunate that the message is being so about past tense and not about the current man that's in front of us. I think we need to spend more time on what he's doing and less on what he's done.
All right, so now I'll back clean up on this, having heard all three of you, and I'm sure Americans have heard this. There are a couple changes. I mentioned something similar to the Reagan years, the change in generation, people looking for their future, but also the parents of those children looking at how they help their children. You made a very important point. It's about the Midwest. It's about, quote, I hate the term, by the way, flyover country. But these are the majority, and minority is vocal in Portland, Oregon, or in Oakland, or in other areas around the country, in Chicago, but they're in small areas. They're vocal, they're dangerous. Let's not minimize this. But more than not, more people are looking to their future. And I think the biggest takeaway from this tonight, if the Republicans hold the House, is people have begun to realize that it's the policies of the Republicans. They're not waking up checking the president's Twitter feed. That's what we do on a daily basis. We wake up, we're in Twitter, we're in Facebook.
And they don't care about Russia.
By the way, where's Russia? Russia has disappeared.
Zero.
I haven't heard.
It's gone.
I said Russian collusion today on my show for the first time in 3 weeks.
Well, wait, because if things don't go well tonight, then that's all you're going to hear about for the next 2 years. That's going
That
to
someone meddled in our election, right? If we win.
Right. If we win, somebody meddled. If we lose, somebody meddled. We just don't know who's meddling.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. All right, Todd Starnes is monitoring Facebook. We've got a lot more coming for you. We got a great platform here at Fox Nation, and I want to just tee up some of what we've got launching in just 3 weeks. My show, of course, Reality Check, right here out of this studio. I'm getting very used to it, guys. It's a nice studio. It's actually one of the first studios I was ever in at Fox News for an extended amount of time. The first studio I hosted a show in was here, well, many years ago. Let's just go with that.
Amazing how life works.
And here we're back. So the Fox Nation platform, Tomi Lahren. She'll give you the first, she'll give you the last. Todd Starnes, you know, you and I have done this for so long on radio and television. I just think you're a funny guy.
Back before, I mean, we started back before Technicolor, so we've been in this business
We just
for a
wore
long
black
time.
and white.
It was Gilligan's Island, and then us, you and me. So back in the day.
The start of the day. And Kaya, I mean, come on, you're in on this.
I'd like to be. This looks like fun. You guys are having fun over here.
Yeah. Oh, no. Let me tell you something. Fun's a big part of it. All right. So give me back the camera for a second, guys. I want you to pay attention, America. Over the last several years, we've seen a growth in technology. These things are everywhere, right? Tablets are everywhere. Smart TVs, internet TV. I just bought my mom a new TV. I'm setting up Netflix. I'm setting up the widgets. Hit the buttons. Now you got a cursor on the screen. This is where it's going. So it's content, it's things you can consume, it's things you can laugh at. It's not just about news of the day. Matter of fact, I gotta tell you, there's more to life than politics. And there's much more to life than news every day. Not that it's not important. I don't want you to get that idea. I don't want the bosses, well, is it upstairs or downstairs, calling me and say, what are you talking about, Dave? But let's give you a taste of that. Here's a little bit of what's coming.
I put the money in the pockets of my coat.
Critics say, well, he was mopped up.
Of course he was mopped up. How are you going to get to the top?
This community wants justice.
We heard you acting like you was big and bad.
Welcome to What Made America Great. feel like we're in a place that most people think does not exist.
And this is my world right here.
Here's to Fox Nation.
They bork to God.
Culturally, our country is in trouble.
It's Britt McHenry, and we are in Satellite Beach, Florida.
During the confirmation, they were trying to knock me off.
There's two forms of justice in this country. There's one for the rich, and there's one for the rest of us.
We're launching an effort which holds the promise of changing the course of human history. This morning I entered a plea of guilty to the charge of leaving the scene of an accident.
Stories done right, opinion done right, fresh, new content, all kinds of great ideas coming out of this. Everybody, you know what it is? We're getting to spread our wings a little bit. All the Fox hosts and so many more new people. Look at what Tyrus is going to be doing. Others, they're going to get to really spread their wings. And he's got big wings, by the way. I think we can all agree on that.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, I'm basically his mini-me. If he shaves his head, I'm his mini-me. But you know, this is the thing about the platform. It's really about giving people more to chew on. As I said, life is more than politics. It's more than news. And there's so much more out there to discuss and interact with those super fans who are out in the tent today. I got to tell you, it was an amazing experience. Look at that. Look at these people. They're still down here. Now, some of them, I think, I recognized a couple when I went out before the show that were there.
This is the engagement that the country's in right now. They're engaged for the first time in a long time.
But I will say, although I think the country's engaged, I will speak to the Fox Nation and the Fox News fans, and we're taking all the Fox News fans, we're making them Fox Nation fans. I will say, because I've done a few of these events, and I was in the tent earlier today, the Fox News and Fox Nation family has something that no other media outlet has, and that's diehard fans who follow us, who trust us, who want more. And what Fox Nation is giving us the opportunity to give that to them in even a more edgy and unfiltered way. And for me, it's about young people as well. People that they want to watch their commentaries on their phone. They want to watch shows on their phone during their commute. We're giving them more, and we have such a wonderful family at Fox News, and we want these people to be a part of it. That's what you saw in the tent. People love it.
Todd, for the family to grow, you've got to have new children, right? So this is about reaching people where they consume media.
Sure, and I think that's an important word. You talk about family. I mean, that's really the experience and that bond we have. It's, you know, they feel like our viewers and our listeners feel like they're part of the family, and we feel the same way. And that's why, you know, out there today in at the Fox Nation tent, that was a really fun moment to get out there, meet people who read your work, listen to you on the radio. We actually did our radio program.
That's
all
right.
3
You were
hours
there.
out there.
I didn't run in on you like Tyrus did, though.
Tyrus, we were having a great discussion with Juan Williams and Jen Kearns, and all of a sudden, Tyrus comes barreling in, and we ended up having a great half an hour on the radio. We didn't know what was going on.
All right, so new platform, speaking of which, you're monitoring Facebook, and you know, today they were all out there taking pictures. Fans have been tweeting about this. For everyone out there, remember the hashtag Fox Nation. You got to put that to good use. We want to spread the word. Facebook, and we are streaming live also on our Facebook platform right now.
We have tens of thousands of people on Facebook right now watching us. Mary Ann writes in, she says, this New York deplorable voted red all the way. Of course, we don't have a chance in this leftist state, but I'm praying we get closer with every election. And Linda writes in, love David Webb, so intelligent and uses common sense.
Frequent doses of common sense. That's what we do right here. All right, so that takes care of Facebook. And folks, you can tweet at us. Follow at Fox Nation. All right, Tomi Lahren, Kaya Jones, Todd Starnes, myself at David Webb Show. Back to the elections, and here we are with some early states that are going to come in soon. It's not about the numbers right now because we just don't have enough. And early voting, your points about early voting matters, but we don't know who voted in that early voting. Republicans tend to have the advantage. Older people tend to go out and vote more, especially in the afternoon. You go to the western states, even in Florida. And I know you voted early. Yeah, all right. Nothing wrong with that. But you mentioned Florida earlier before we came on air, Tommy. And in Florida, there is a West Coast effect with Tallahassee, and that's where Andrew Gilliam comes from. What's your thoughts?
To me, what concerns me most is we have a couple of like outright socialists that are up for election or to be elected, and we are going to find that out tonight and tomorrow morning, and that terrifies me. The fact that we're in a time and place where you can come out and say, hey, guess what, I'm basically a socialist, I want health care for all, I want free things, and then that's a winning mentality in some places, that's frightening. That frightens me to my very core, but not only that, it inspires me to make sure we're getting the message out, because I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, socialism does not work, don't care who you are, and the fact that we have to combat that now in places like Florida is terrifying.
All right, so Kaya, and of course, California, you know, let's face it, they're out there. I've been to these rallies. I've interviewed the Bernie Sanders supporters. I used to actually go to the communist meetings in New York to see what they were all about.
He would have been a way better contender against Trump. But
I don't know if he would have been. Well, he would have been more fun to watch.
It would have been way more fun to watch.
But I don't know. That would have taken away from the importance of the pantsuit. I don't know if that works. He doesn't look the same. But really, about those young people that come to your shows, come and see. I mean, do they not get it? Let's draw this comparison. You got a Gilliam supporter, an intern, a Gilliam intern who's throwing coffee or hot chocolate on the young Republicans on a campus, who turns around and wears a communist pin, says, I'm a communist, and says fascism is here. Now, fascism is horrible, and what came out of it is horrible, but communism literally responsible for the deaths of over 100 million people. But this time it's cool for many young people.
Education is the biggest problem. If we don't have good education systems in this country, you're going to have constant indoctrination into a liberal mindset. And that's what's been going on across this nation for a long time. If you're not getting homeschooled or seeking information, which is why it's imperative people like Tomi, the younger people that are speaking the truth and getting the knowledge out there, it's crucial. It's imperative that we do. I have fans that are 12 years old that say, I'm conservative LGBT. Thank you for speaking out for me. But we're not going to see their vote for another 6 years.
I've got a caller before you jump in, Todd, and I love this because this is a call I get from California on a regular basis on my radio show. Hi, I'm a transgender NRA life member Republican.
Why fit people in a box?
To the point about Donald Trump crossing all lines by saying, what have you got to lose? Let me help you out. Blacks, Hispanic. Nobody's separate. We're all one country, Todd.
Right.
Yeah, look, I'm with Tomi here. I get freaked out over all this stuff. I mean, Andrew Gilliam wants to raise taxes by 40% in Florida. There ought to be a stampede in the villages and their little golf carts to get to the election.
Actually, I'll tell you where the stampede ought to be. It's the guy who calls me and says, I own a pizza business, and if I get 40% more in taxes, I don't hire, my pizza goes up, your cost goes up. It gets passed on, by the way, to the people who can't afford the 40%.
And look at what's happening in the state of Georgia right now, where you've got a woman, Stacey Abrams, who is, quite frankly, an avowed socialist, running against Brian Kemp. I mean, who in the state of Georgia wants to turn that state into Venezuela? I mean, are you really going to have people going down to Zoo Atlanta eating the pumas because they can't find food anywhere? I mean, that's how crazy it is. I know it sounds
ludicrous. Can't afford
ludicrous.
toilet paper, can't afford...
Exactly. But again, what's going on? And real quick, guys, I think the issue here ultimately is we've got to take a look at our public education system here, because that's where the indoctrination is taking place. And if we don't fix that, we're going to keep having very close elections like this.
All right, well, we're going to toss to something else in me, but I want to do a little product sales here. I learned this from Joe Franklin, TV's first pitch man. So let me see if I can do him justice. Brand new premium item here, Fox Nation watch. They have a tactical one in black, tactical in white. Comes with a great case. All right, let's bring this up for the camera so you can see this. There you go. All right, now I'm going to put it on, and good luck to you guys for getting it back when I put it on, because
it looks so good.
It looks really good.
What colors does it come in?
It comes in black and white. Comes with a great tactical case. And by the way, I've got a new touch for all of you out there. Premium item. I know a lot of you Second Amendment types. Let me talk to you for a moment. If you're a gun owner, this case, which fits the watch, it's tactical, is a great place for another item, and that's a nice 380 or a nice small piece. So you have tactical advantage, and you have your tactical watch. So I'm sure some liberals' head just exploded.
They are, and they're going to explode even more when they find out.
We're not selling guns, but I'm selling ideas here, folks. Protect the Second Amendment.
The watch, though, I think this is important because people know, like, I love my swag, and that's a Fox Nation watch for Fox Nation founders. So you need to know about it, but more than that, Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, California, is where they make that watch. I happen to live in Los Angeles, and so next week we're going to go visit the folks that work on those watches and make those watches so you can see how they're made. And we're going to have some fun with it because they're tactical, they're fun, and they're for Fox Nation founders. So they're part of the Cool Kids Club.
Absolutely. Great. Look at that. That watch is there for you. Go to foxnation.com and look at it. Great swag, great programs, great offers for you. Lots of other stuff. We got hats. Hey, we got buttons, guys. We got buttons. Can you imagine they made a button of me? I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would do that. And of course, all our great hosts. And if you're down there in the Fox Nation Plaza, you can take home a button. I see people putting them on.
It's called Fox Square now, though.
Yeah, Fox Square.
We've renamed it.
Fox. We've just taken over. We're taking over everything going forward. You know, we're going to have a lot of great documentaries here. In my show, Reality Check, we're going to have a series called Legend. History by those who wrote it. I've got some great historical figures. One of them, actually, not a well-known figure, but an important figure, showed up today on Fox Square, Sammy Steigman. Sammy was a prisoner in Mogila in World War II, 1.5 years old. The Nazis performed experiments in him. He's a Fox Nation superfan. Sammy was down there on Fox Square today. Documentaries, stories, legends, history, all the things that you need to know. Education, back to your point. We need to have education, and we're going to give it to you here. Let's take a look at some of these.
I proudly announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America.
Bill Clinton's lover for 12 years. Now he tells me to deny it.
Yeah. What's the relationship with Jennifer Flowers?
There really isn't, obviously.
What Mr. Clinton did to me was wrong.
William Jefferson Clinton.
About the Clintons' involvement in a failed Arkansas land deal called Whitewater.
Hale has implicated the president in a Whitewater-related fraudulent loan scheme.
Whitewater and other controversies will continue to plague the
James McDougal, his ex-wife Susan, and Jim Guy Tucker went on trial for allegedly bilking the federal government out of $3 million in fraudulent loans.
I really did not fully understand everything that I wish now I had known.
Congressional Republicans are expected to hold their fire on Whitewater.
President Clinton is mourning the death of Vincent Foster.
The Justice Department are continuing 3 investigations.
Wrangling over Monica Lewinsky's testimony, the whole issue appears to be coming to a head.
Lewinsky had a sexual encounter with the president.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
These are all questions that no doubt the independent counsel is going to pursue and that the president's going to want to provide answers.
These allegations are false. That's about as clear and direct and specific as you can get. Back! We're back!
The navy blue dress. I would rather you had that in your possession.
We have nothing to hide. Why are you hiding?
Did I want this to come out? No. Did I ask her to lie about it? No. There are no grounds for impeachment.
I'm not going to comment.
The allegations are completely untrue.
That is obstruction of justice by the President of the United States.
All right, so there you have it. Great documentaries, a lot of great programs, real education. I think that's a very important point about this, reaching out to people. We've got more coming for you, 3 weeks away, and I want to go to some of the news headlines. Let's write the headlines. I do a segment in Reality Check called Correcting the News. What the question was asked, how they did it, were they trying to get an angle, and what could have been done right. So let's talk about headlines tomorrow. Todd's chomping over there.
Yeah, we already know where this is going to go.
He's off Facebook and onto headlines.
I am ready.
Yeah, go.
The writer of writers.
I'm sure all of us is the same.
All right, this is if the Republicans win. White supremacist Donald Trump loses Democrat vote. That's if the Republicans win. Now, here's what happens if they lose. Democrats prefer Pelosi on top. Trump's still a racist.
All right, so there's an is thrown in there. All right, Kaya, let's go across the
Impeachment
table.
If they win. Immediately, they're going to go to impeachment.
So the first headline
First thing,
is about
and that's the
impeachment.
biggest mistake they could make.
All right, so Tommy, write the headline.
No, I agree. If it doesn't go the way that we would like it to go, the first thing is going to be, oh, the American people don't love Donald Trump. He's on his way out the door. We're going to impeach.
So they're going to write the obituary.
100%. They've been doing it. They've put out hits.
Every time Trump gets up and breathes his first breath of the day, that's and brushes his teeth, they're saying it's the end of Trump.
So basically, before he tweets, which I'm not sure if that happens before he brushes his teeth or not, but the president's got a big bully pulpit. This is, think about this. President Obama had a Twitter account. Trump, from a political sense, weaponized Twitter as a way to get around the media, Tommy.
He bypassed the media and became the media.
He comes direct at the people, not only who follow him, but those who hate him.
Yeah.
Well, of course he does. And beyond that, Donald Trump is still our president. If things don't go the way that we want them to go, yes, it's going to be a setback. But I have to just because like I said, I like to go worst case scenario. I hope that if it doesn't go the way we want it to tonight, I hope Republicans and those Republicans that are kind of like on the fence, if you will, about the border wall and all the things that we elected Donald Trump to do, the ones that are kind of half in, half out on America First, I hope that the ones that did that and they lose as a result wake up and other Republicans watch, because this will happen to you and people will elect Democrats if you do not come out firm, America First, build the wall, etc.
All right, so let's actually quick one. I'll go around the table, then we're going to go to the tent real quick. Donald Trump writes the headline tomorrow morning. Come on, Todd, I'll give you a chance first. Go for it.
Donald Trump writes the headline.
If he writes the headline tomorrow morning.
Huge win.
Huge for the whites.
If he wins?
Yeah.
If we win? Yeah, America First. We're moving in the right direction.
All right, Tommy. I love pop quizzes because everybody, really? What? This is what you wanted to do?
I think if we win, it'll be I told you so.
All right,
I have a bonus. Yes. I made Republicans great again.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. So the Fox Square is busy. I mean, take it. All right, and Taya's going to head down. Lisa Booth is going to come in over here. It'd be great to have her up here. And we're going to check in with you down in the tent, all right?
Yes,
all right,
please do.
More of what's coming. Great content from your favorite Fox News hosts. Again, a lot of new folks, a lot of new voices, new faces. Here's a sneak peek at what you'll be able to see this month at Fox Nation.
Jimmy Hoffa is missing.
Hoffa disappeared after phoning his wife Josephine. What do you mean Jimmy Hoffa is missing?
This place went absolutely wild. We had people out with shovels digging, looking for Hoffa.
Highly questionable if the body will ever be found.
How many shots were fired at Jimmy? 2.
Frank Sharon told me that he killed Jimmy Hoffa. He gave me the directions to this house and he described the layout. This is where Sharon says Hoffa was shot.
Fox News had the answers.
This is the road that Frank Sharon drove on.
I was around when the Hoffa disappeared that weekend.
I have never believed the Frank Sharon story.
They have hit a dead end in their part of the Jimmy Hoffa investigation.
Did you think Hoffa was going to get killed?
I felt it in my bones.
Yeah.
All right, Fox Nation, go to our website. Check it out, foxnation.com, hashtag FoxNation on social media, streaming live tonight, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on our Facebook, on our Fox News Facebook platform, or online at foxnews.com. And, you know, we've done a lot of radio together over the years, and we've done some TV together from time to time, but joining us on the set right here in Studio K is Lisa Booth, who has worked with candidates in and out of wins. Great to see you.
And some losses.
And some losses. You know, we do.
Although those aren't as easy to admit, you know.
Yeah. Well, great to see you.
Nice
I got to tell you, first of all,
too.
Fox Square. Let's get your quick reaction on that.
It looks pretty cool. Yeah,
Isn't it awesome? Technology at work.
Absolutely.
T-shirts and buttons and fun. But the Fox super fan. I love seeing those folks. I mean, I smiled so hard today, just having a good time with fans, taking pictures, selfies, whatever. I actually had to like push the cheeks back down.
No, it's fun. And actually, I was on Steve Hilton's show on Sunday night, and he did a live audience, and that was a lot of fun, too, because we got to, you know, kind of hear from them and then talk to them afterwards. So that was really neat.
All right, let's look at races around the country. You've worked with candidates on and off, wins and losses, broad picture and narrowing on a couple of key races. What are you watching?
Well, so I think that the big picture is that if Republicans there's not much of a narrative tonight unless Republicans keep the House and the Senate or Democrats have historic gains. Other than that, we're just basically saying, you know, historical averages, because essentially since World War II, the president's party in his first midterm tend to lose an average of 31 seats between the House and the Senate. So I really think that anything around that or less isn't really, you know, it's just basically an average with previous midterms. So that's kind of what I'm looking to see. If Democrats do take back the House, what the margins are, and then that's where, you know, the narrative takes place, and, you know, looking to see what the results look like.
All right, so let's look at some, I have some interesting points on this election and things that are not often paid closely attention to in the media, the mainstream headlines. We have 4 states that could elect their first female governor: Georgia, Idaho, Maine and South Dakota, 2 states that could elect the first female senator, Tennessee and Utah, 1 that will elect, no matter who wins in Arizona, whether it's Kyrsten Sinema or
Martha
McSally, and 3 states that could elect the first female House member, and that's Alaska, Iowa, and Vermont. So, Tommy, women are factoring in, and look, there are more women than men in the population. They've stepped into these roles in politics.
Well, they absolutely have, and there are a lot of conservative women to note. Because I think it's interesting.
But I thought we were the party that didn't like women.
Exactly. If you would follow people like Chelsea Handler, Kathy Griffin, or others on Twitter, you would think that there are no female conservatives, or if we are, that we're traitors. And I see them every day posting like, go elect women, and then I like to kindly remind them, oh, like Marsha Blackburn, oh, like Martha McSally, like those women too. I mean, let's focus on the fact that there are some women that are formidable in this election and that are probably going to win.
All right, so Todd, I know you were around for the suffragette meetings back in the day. And you and Susan B. Anthony hanging out there having a good time. But, you know, I'll remind people that Wyoming, first state to have women vote. That's when they were fighting the battle to become a state. And then you look at Calvin Coolidge and Grace Coolidge, and you look at clubs like the Women's National Republican Club, Henrietta Wells Livermore. These were Republicans who fought for the rights for women, much like they did for blacks in the segregation days of segregation. So women stepping into the political world, and younger women. We've got a lot of young women in the Republican Party.
Well, that's right, and it's this idea of the big tent party. That's what Ronald Reagan was all about, and President Trump has advanced that idea and has created even a bigger tent for people of all different backgrounds, to people that support the economy, people that love his plan to get people back to work again. And you brought up something interesting, David. We talked about this on the radio show just the other day. The Democrats are out there accusing people who support this president of being racist, of being anti-woman, when in fact it is the Democrat Party that has a history of racism, and it is the Democrat Party that has a history of putting down women. And just look at what happened to Marsha Blackburn over the weekend. We covered this story on the radio today. They actually hung an image of what was Marsha Blackburn in effigy from a tree right outside of Nashville. I mean, this is very despicable behavior, and the mainstream media, they do not cover this at all. They turn a blind eye to these attacks on Republican women.
No, they do turn a blind eye, and that's part of the problem. If you look at, let's say the differences even in the Judge Kavanaugh hearings, well, now Associate Justice Kavanaugh, when he was a nominee, the allegations, media has not covered the fact that we now have women not only saying they lied, as in the case of one accuser, but we have investigations potentially into Julie Svetnick, the creepy porn lawyer. Let's throw him in there, even though he's not a woman.
CPL.
But the difference in the CPL, difference in how they treated Karen Monahan, who had medical records and reports and allegations against Keith Ellison. So, Lisa, I mean, how Republicans need to, frankly, they need to message better on this.
Well, or the fact, looking at the Brett Kavanaugh issue, is that there still are no witnesses or corroborating evidence for any of the 3 accusers, Julie Svetnick, Christine Ford, or Deborah Ramirez. So that's also something to keep in mind. But I think tonight, look, I love seeing more women candidates, but what matters is if you can win. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And we need to ensure.
So don't run because you're a woman. Run because you're a capable politician, man or woman.
Well, yeah. And if you're a credible candidate, you get through the primary and you head on to the general election. So I'm all for seeing people of different backgrounds running. You just got to win. And Republicans need to nominate people that can win. And that's what ultimately it's going to come down to tonight. Right now, we're starting to see some results come in. And I'm looking at races like Kentucky 6, because what we're going to find out, that's a toss-up race. And so what we're going to find out tonight, if Republicans start losing some of those toss-up races early on, then you can kind of see how this might not be the best night for Republicans. And I remember working at the NRCC in 2010, and we ended up picking up 63 seats that election cycle. And we were in the war room seeing results come in. We ended up winning districts that we didn't even think that, were even on the map, that we weren't even targeting. I remember there was an Illinois race, I can't remember the specific district, where Melissa Bean was holding. Joe Walsh ended up winning that election cycle. So if it's a bad night for Republicans, we might even start seeing some of these more lean Republican or likely Republican districts that we didn't really even think were going to be necessarily at play, starting to go in the different direction. So we really need to keep an eye on some of these toss-up races as they start coming in, Kentucky 6 being one of them. And that's going to kind of give you a frame of reference what the rest of the night might look like.
All right, so Todd, and I want to check in on Facebook as well. By the way, our new Fox News voter analysis, it's going to be an interesting test. I think it's an amazing tool in this prediction on issues, what matters, the types of voters, and voter migration. But Todd.
Real quick on that, by the way, speaking of that voter analysis, according to Fox News, the number one issue was health care. 26% say that was the issue. And if that's the case, that goes back to something that the Republicans did early on, or quite frankly did not do, which was repeal and replace Obamacare. That could come back to haunt them tonight.
Although, what's the second and third then in the percentages?
Immigration, and they're pretty close. Immigration came in second, 23%, and then the economy and jobs, which the Republicans, again, are going to come out strong on. But again, we don't have much more information than that right now. But
sure. But I mean, those numbers aren't, too huge of a difference either. No. So you don't have one issue that is just taking charge. Because a lot of people are putting the emphasis on healthcare this election cycle, but immigration and the economy have run pretty close to healthcare being one of the top issues.
Well, security and economic security go together, Tommy. And, single issue voters, I don't think this is a single issue election. Are there important issues that may drag voters out, issues that may get them out to the polls? But I see a lot of people voting on more than one issue, to your point about immigration and the economy.
Immigration and the economy, I think immigration is, to me, that's of paramount importance because everything else can be affected if you deal with immigration. Being in a border state of California, and we have a governor that's probably going to be our next governor, even though that pains me to say, actually makes me physically ill to say, Governor Gavin. I won't. I will save it for later because California is still going. But we have Governor Gavin Newsom, and he's already said he wants to provide health care to undocumented immigrants. That's repulsive to me. The fact that immigration is not a bigger issue and people don't understand how that affects everything else, especially in border states like Texas and California. I mean, that's why to me that Senate race is so important in Texas as well.
Or in dealing with the issues of the security and the opioid epidemic and so many other things,
and
including
guys,
human trafficking.
To that point, according to the voter analysis, 69% of voters say that those who are living here illegally should be offered a chance to apply for legal status. I'm looking at these numbers. I don't see it.
See, I don't buy that because of a fundamental kind of an American approach, our cultural approach to fairness. People come here legally every year. Most Americans get that. And I don't think they want that. Now, lawful presence, which is what it's really called under the codes, that's an issue for discussion if we can separate to bring the issue down. But I don't see that. All right, Todd, Facebook, what do you got?
Yeah, all right. Tommy says this is not the first time Americans have fought back socialism and communism. So Tommy is feeling pretty good about
different
tonight.
Tommy than this
Tommy.
This Tommy?
Tommy's actually doing
it. She's writing something as she's sitting here.
Tommy with a Y. Jules says the Dems don't care what happens to the country as long as they get into power. Here's what Carlos writes to us. What Democrats fear the most is minorities, realizing there is a better life available for them in the workforce. This economy is the opportunity to better your lot in life, and throw off the yoke of government dependence. Write your own future. Vote red.
So, again, basic foundation issues. Yeah. Do you have a better life? The Reagan question was asked. But the question I think is being asked today by most Americans, and I'll add to that question, what do you see for your future, Tommy? I mean, you look at these millennials, again, I said that they're getting older. They weren't where they were in 08, and they weren't where they were in 11.
Speak for yourself. No, we're not getting older.
Okay, I'm sorry, what can I say? Lisa, you haven't changed a bit. All right, we've known each other so long. You're beautiful. You don't age a day. Have I made it up now?
You made it up. We're good.
Put that on Facebook.
Smooth.
But I tell you what I think the problem is with young people, and I think it's across the country. Although I do think young people are starting to wake up, I think there's going to be a resurgence of conservatism amongst young people, and we're working very hard to make sure that happens, Fox Nation being one of the ways we're going to do it. But beyond that, I think one of the big problems with young people is they hear free things and they think that's plausible. They think that money comes from government. They don't understand that money comes from the taxpayer. They really don't get that. In fact, I would go as far as to say there are a lot of college students that think that money just falls from the sky or it lives like in the iCloud. They think that they can just
they live
pull
a little
it
bit of
down.
parental socialism because somebody Everybody's paying for you to
Exactly.
be there, so
It's
you
like,
can
well,
throw
why
hot
not?
chocolate around.
Yeah, why not give illegals free things? There's just enough money to go around, right? Just spread it around, bring it down from the sky and spread it around. Young people believe that. They believe in socialism because they believe in free things. They don't understand where the money comes from.
All right, so Todd, reality check for him.
Yeah, look, I had a guy send me a note one day. He's out in Des Moines, Iowa. He says, "You're not going to believe the homework assignment my 7th grader got." It was the assignment was showing the difference between socialism and capitalism. On the capitalism side, you had a big fat guy in a tuxedo with all this money coming out of his pockets, and all the little workers were chained together weeping. On the communism, socialism side, there was no big fat owner of the company. All the workers were dancing around in piles of money. Now, if you're a 13-year-old 7th grader, you're thinking, hey, I want to be a socialist. That's the problem. If we're going to fix what's wrong with this country, we've got to take back the education system. We've got to fix it, or else we're going to be in big trouble.
All right, so Lisa, all of this, and I want to pivot, go forward in age, not you, not you, but go forward in age to the older voters in this country, senior voters, the high propensity voters, those +4s that vote around the country. You've covered this, you've run these races. Where do you think, and that tends to favor Republicans in the midterms. Again, in states like Arizona and others in the West Coast, they come out later. So what about those Sun voters?
I mean, we'll see. Look, Republicans have held the House for a number of years now, and so you could see how Democrats would be motivated to turn out this election cycle. And I just remind everyone, I was there in 2010 where we picked up 63 seats. 2012 was a bad election cycle for Republicans. 2014, I was working on a Senate race when we took back the Senate. So these things ebb and flows. It's like a pendulum swing, going back and forth, election cycle to election cycle. So it would not be surprising tonight if Democrats make gains. The bigger question is, how many do they make? Do they get the 23 and above that they need to take back the House or not? That is where the question lies tonight. And I truly believe that really anything less than, or 31 seats and less for Republicans is a good night. Anything above that, when you start getting into what we saw in 2010, like the 63 seat category, then, if the media is spinning this as some sort of bigger referendum, there's probably some truth to that.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go along, not only here on Fox Nation, but across. The entire family has to be included in this. We can't pretend that we just exist in a vacuum. We're conservatives. We think of the whole family. And we've got a great team at Fox News, at Fox Business, but right here, you get us on the web. You're on your smartphone. My mom's picking up polls. It's a little mom story. She's picking up ballots, the counts in her town. And I know that right now she's probably watching Hi Mom on her
Yeah.
brand new Microsoft Surface. She's there, just watching, because you can get it online. That's
Hi,
what's
Mrs.
great
Webb.
about this. There you go. Mama Webb's out there, and I'll be over for breakfast tomorrow, because I'll be up all night over here. But it's so much great content that's coming. This new premium subscription service that's for you, launching on November 27th. We're just 3 weeks away. My show launches on November 27th at 2 p.m. Reality check for all of you around the country. Let's take a look. It's a brand new on-demand service for you, the Fox superfan, and others too.
I was accused of framing O.J. Simpson by planting a bloody glove. You can call me the worst thing that ever walked on the planet. Crooked, racist cop. But the police would never, ever put the pieces together and solve the case. Two detectives have the most famous running back in NFL history, and he is now the #1 suspect in a double homicide. He would rape them and call them afterwards. We have a homicide victim underneath the boughs of a tree. Suspect knew the victim. The cop shot him in the back. Would the narrative have changed if a black officer shot Michael Brown? 450 books have been written about the JFK assassination. Never been a detective that wrote a book. And then I decided I'm going to write one myself.
All right, so a sneak peek for you. We're going to give you lots of sneak peek between now and then. FoxNation.com, #FoxNation, all the social media. You use it. We'll be there for you. And spread the word. By the way, spread the word. You got to tell your friends, right? Let's bring them in. Let's work. All right, guys, some races around the country that we want to look at. Again, I'll bat clean up on that. We'll go around the table starting at the end. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at some of these East Coast races and also the Times, because we want to start looking at the races
and
that are going to start.
And the energy that goes across.
Yeah, and start to come, because then you can start to glean what the rest of the night is going to look like. For I had mentioned Kentucky 6 earlier. If that is a race we lose, if Republicans lose that race, it's probably going to be a bad night for Republicans. There's also some of these Florida races as well. Florida's 27. That's where Ileana Ross-Lateman, she retired. You've got a Telemundo host running as a Republican. That's a seat that Democrats really thought would be easy, but Maria Salazar, as you see there, she's been hanging tough. So look at that race. There's 3 races in Virginia. Virginia 2, Virginia 5, Virginia 10, and then there's some North Carolina races as well. And why these are important is because we're going to be able to figure out, get at least an idea of what the rest of the night looks like. Because if there's some big wave tonight that people have missed, we're going to start seeing some of these races go left. Into the left column, and maybe even some surprises. So if you see some of those surprises, it might be a really bad night.
All right,
we'll
so
see.
Todd, what do you got?
Yeah, looking at that North Carolina race, by the way, McCready and Mark Harris, who is a former pastor of the First Baptist Church in Charlotte, he upset the sitting incumbent Republican there. That's a fascinating race, and one of the things that I'm interested to see, especially in our voter analysis, is how much of an impact Northerners moving from liberal states into the Deep South for jobs, how much is that diluting the voting power in those predominantly red states. One of the other races I'm very interested in is out of Tennessee. You have Phil Bredesen, the Democrat, going up against Marsha Blackburn. We had her on the show today. She's feeling pretty good about those numbers. But again, that could be a pretty interesting race to watch. Bredesen tried to portray himself as a moderate Democrat, but of course you had Project Veritas going in. So I'm not quite sure where that race is going to go, but I think Blackburn's going to pull it off.
My money's kind of on Marsha on that one.
Great candidate.
Besides, it gets us to go to Marsha. I just can't resist myself. Know her way too long. All right, Tommy, what are you watching?
I'm looking at Arizona. I'm looking at Arizona because this is such an opportunity, but yet again, because Arizona has been so red, or we thought it's been so red, if this turns tonight, I'm fearful. Another one I'm fearful about is Texas. Because Arizona and Texas, if by some miracle those turn blue, we're in for a world of hurt. It's going to get bad. And you know why? It's because the Californians leave California because they don't like the taxes, the regulation, and so they move to Texas and they bring on their politics with them.
They do that in New Hampshire.
There's a
they
disconnect
do it all over.
there.
All right, Lisa, before I give you.
Well, I was going to say, one thing that people forget is Arizona is a little bit more of a swing state than people give it credit for. President Trump did not win Arizona by that much in 2016. So people often think that it's just automatically going to be in the red territory, but it's a little bit more competitive.
How about the Ducey factor?
Texas would be, really bad for Republicans.
But Arizona, cinema though, the fact that they could elect a moderate would be okay.
Well, she's masked herself as a moderate since 2012 when she ran for Congress. But so that's how a lot of voters view her as the problem.
How do you go from I'm sorry, but if you're an Arizona voter, you've got 2 choices: American war hero veteran, and someone who's
and you're allowed
Taliban.
to join the Taliban.
How do you do that? I don't understand.
I don't think. Yeah,
I don't get it.
She's a kook, but
well, yeah,
wackadoo.
All right, so I'm going to go to some of the races not being mentioned, but the numbers matter, right? We've all talked about that. Pennsylvania 8. Here's an interesting race. It's a +12 district where John Schrin is running. But as I'm talking to people out there in Pennsylvania, Lucerne, Lackawanna, voter turnout is significant, and that could flip that district. That gives us some energy. Florida 7, Bill Miller in a tight +1 lead over the Democrat. That's another one that matters. Central Florida, Michael Waltz running against a leftover Clintonite and Nancy Soderberg. And of course we talked about Shalala. So Clinton's obviously testing the waters in Florida. That's my take. New Hampshire, you talked about people going out of state and voting. They all leave Massachusetts, they go up to New Hampshire, and then they vote this in. Now, I spend a lot of time in the Granite State. Every year I host the first GOP nation, first cruise for the GOP up there. And I go up there and I look, and I've got Eddie Edwards, who's running in CD1. He's in a tight race as a former Navy officer. This is someone who's a police chief, someone who served in the state. And again, a strong conservative voice. There's some races there that I'm looking at, and if those races start turning, I think the Democrats might worry a little bit.
And also the gubernatorial races as well, because those aren't really getting a lot.
Yeah, we got to get back to those.
Republicans are on the defense this cycle when it comes to some of these gubernatorial races. And you look at states like Florida, Nevada, and Ohio as well. That has an impact heading into 2020 for President Trump as well, and also redistricting. And that's something that's not really getting discussed as much.
Well, let's talk about that with
cycle.
Andrew Gilliam, because if Andrew Gilliam gets the governor's chair, while he would have a fight with the Florida state legislature in both houses, he gets 3 state of Florida Supreme Court appointments. That goes to redistricting. And if he gets his attorney general over Ashley Moody running for the Republicans, that could affect the 2020 and the 2024 elections, Tommy.
Oh, that Florida race, I just spent some time in the Gainesville area, and people were nervous, and I thought, oh, it's going to be okay. I don't think that people would vote that way. I think Florida's still conservative enough to reject something like this, but as of today, I'm terrified for Florida. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that that could be something we have to look forward to in 2020 is people like that actually having a chance winning. That says to me something broader about national politics.
All right, go ahead, Todd.
When you look back at the 2016 election, I wrote a book about this right after the election, and I suggested that the bigger story coming out of 2016 was not necessarily Donald Trump, but the rise of socialism within the Democrat Party. And I think
Hillary Clinton said in Iowa, 41% of my party is Democratic Socialist.
Absolutely. And then when you look at the Gallup poll, where more American young people are embracing socialism, that's a problem.
When you see candidates like Andrew Gilliam, who basically espouse and embrace those ideas, you see someone like Kyrsten Sinema, who has called herself a socialist in the past. And remember, she didn't start moderating until she ran for Congress and in more of a swing district in 2012. But she's done a good job masking it. She became a member of the Blue Dog Coalition. So I think that's where a lot of the confusion lies among voters, is she's put on this mask, essentially, despite her incredibly liberal past.
Well, speaking of confusion, you've got Democrats who run as moderates, but then go right back to their roots. And look,
Kirsten Gillibrand, remember that?
No matter what you put around socialism, democratic socialist, new socialist, old socialist, whatever it is, it's still socialism, no matter how you dress it up. And that's what I think people need to get in this country. No matter what you do around it, policies. And by the way, I'm going to make a prediction here. I've been making this one on my radio show.
What is it?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, New York 14, who beat a long, 10-term Democrat. She, along with others, will form the first socialist caucus in Congress.
That's not a bad prediction.
That's
I mean, it's a bad prediction for like the country and everyone else, but it is a good prediction in the sense of I could see something like that happen.
Facebook, Todd.
We have some more Facebook folks writing in here. Nancy says, I want to see Hillary Clinton have another meltdown.
Who doesn't?
DC writes in, I'm Cuban and I know what socialism. Believe me, you don't want socialism in the United States. And Lynn writes in, my rent is $2,000 a month. And oh, wait a second, that's spam. Sorry, we got a spammer on.
Well, hey, spammers, they jump in there. By the way, I just want to throw this back as we're talking about this. I was approached by a gentleman in the Fox Square today, and I hear this often. He goes, I grew up under communism. I grew up under what is the worst case when socialism goes to its ultimate end. We saw how that's played out in so many countries, and I don't want to see this country go this way. And those people are out there as well. And he says, I'm talking to my neighbors, I'm talking to my friends, I'm bringing people to the polls, and we need them. They are part of the real army in this country that believes in America first, our policies, and frankly, for the rest of the world, when America does better, the world does better.
That's a good point. I think Republicans need to do a better job of telling stories with actual people and giving faces to the issue and to the idea, because President Trump's actually done this quite well. Remember back in 2018, or remember back to the State of the Union, rather. We're in 2018 now, the State of the Union, where President Trump brought the families who have daughters who are the victims of MS-13. And illegal immigrants, and he told those stories, and he told the story of the Ohio manufacturer and how the tax reform law benefited him and his business. And so he's been so good at giving a face to these issues, and the Republican Party needs to be better at doing that, and I think kind of take a page
Well, the Republican Party needs to watch Fox Nation and hear from people who actually talk to people like we do on a daily basis. I think that's the missing part. You need people who talk to people daily, and some of them need to be brought into the RNC, some of them need to be brought into these congressmen's campaigns, these senatorial campaigns, to really understand.
Real stories you're talking about.
There are real people out here who've lived this. Let's make them the central focus.
And that's really what Fox Nation is all about. I mean, there are so many people out there who feel marginalized, that they watch the mainstream media and they don't see people that look like them, that don't think like them, that don't act like them. And that's what Fox Nation is all about. We are the community. We are the family. People can come here and they can hear the debate. They can hear great stories about what great Americans are doing all over this country and really understanding what it is that makes America great.
Well, I love it. And speaking of which, we're in Make America Great Red. Lisa Booth, Tomi Lahren, Todd Starnes, the man in the middle. That's what I'm going to call you from now on.
One lucky guy.
Yeah, there you go.
You are. I think we're two really lucky guys to be here sharing that stage. And thanks to Kaya, who's down in the Fox tent in Fox Square. And, you know, we're going to head down there. We're going to come. You guys going to come down with me?
Sure.
Come on, let's go run around. Yeah, come on.
Absolutely.
They got buttons. They got tchotchkes. Look at this. All right, they got toys. I've got my watch right here. All right, a sneak peek. That is a Fox Nation watch, and I'm not giving it up. Good luck getting this off my hand.
Fancy, David.
Here's a sneak peek at what you'll be able to see this month at Fox Nation while we turn it over to my good friend, Andrew Napolitano, the judge that I've always said, and I've said this to the president, should be on the Supreme Court. Andrew Napolitano and a great cast coming up next right here on Fox Nation. I see Lawrence back there. Jessica. Wave, Jessica. There you go. Look at these guys. All right, they'll be back. We're headed down to Fox Square.
Give me some of the memories that you remember.
I'd play with Legos on his floor. I'd rollerblade around the offices at Trump Tower, and it was certainly amazing. We didn't have the free time because we were working. There's no closer 3 siblings in the world than 3 of us, and we make an awesome team. We have the largest winery on the east coast of the United States, the largest winery east of the Mississippi in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it is truly one of the most beautiful properties anywhere in the world.
Am I allowed to be cheesy and say we made it great again? I got married on November 8th, if you can possibly believe it.
That is funny.
So November 8th is a big day in our lives.
What's going to be most important for you to pass on to Luke?
Certainly work ethic, love of what you do. I always loved the construction. I wanted to sit on that tractor. Hey, if he doesn't love the real estate stuff, I don't want him to do it. I just want him to be a good little boy, with his own dreams and vision and make a meaningful impact on society in some way.
See you later. See you later. It is different. I miss walking down the hallway to his room and to his office and joking around, talking about life, talking about business, whatever.
The reason I stood by him on that stage every single day, Ivanka did as well and Don did as well, because we knew he could achieve everything that he's achieved in office. Quite frankly, if I didn't think he could, I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have gone through that process.
The Kennedys were part of this story that Americans told.
The whole era of Camelot, it's our royal family.
A bullet struck President Kennedy.
Let's win there. Thank you. Are there any more doctors in the House?
The entire weight of the family dynasty goes on the shoulders of Ted Kennedy.
Camelot ended the morning the police chief found that car.
They found a body in it.
It was Mary Jo Kopechne.
Senator Kennedy, what have you done? It's been 10 hours and you haven't told anybody.
The tragedy on Martha's Vineyard has raised more questions than have been answered.
Ted Kennedy fled to Hyannisport, where his brain trust was waiting.
The Kennedy name ran that part of the United States.
The chief says, Senator Kennedy, obviously we need to talk to you. Can you come down here? And Kennedy says, I'd prefer you come to me.
How is it things moved so quickly for the body to be embalmed and the body to be sent back to Pennsylvania?
There was supposed to be an autopsy.
They tried to get away with it.
A lot of cameras, a lot of shouting. Kennedy in the neck brace.
The message of that neck brace was absolutely clear.
And she said, I can't do this. They said, you have to do it. Here come the cars. We wanted to find out what happened. And it was a stone wall from the beginning.
I hope that I shall be able to put this most recent tragedy behind me.
All they cared about was protecting his political career.
You can either tell the dull and damning details of what happened that night, or you can try to save the magic.
There is no truth to the widely circulated suspicions.
Why did no one go to her parents? Why did no one speak about this night at all?
He did not look like somebody that had been in an accident 8 hours later.
Did he try to get Mary Jo out, truly out?
There have been people that have come forward with lots of theories.
And here we are 50 years later, we still don't know the whole story.
I have an inkling that something so horrific happened in Chappaquiddick that everyone had something to lose if it came out.
The story of Camelot only works if it has magic. He used up all the magic. There was no magic left.
My fellow Americans, thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. The subject I want to discuss with you, peace and national security, is both timely and important. For 20 years, the Soviet Union has been accumulating enormous military might. They didn't stop when their forces exceeded all requirements of a legitimate defensive capability, and they haven't stopped now. During the past decade and a half, the Soviets have built up a massive arsenal of new strategic nuclear weapons. Weapons that can strike directly at the United States. My fellow Americans, tonight we're launching an effort which holds the promise of changing the course of human history. There will be risks and results take time, but I believe we can do it. As we cross this threshold, I ask for your prayers and your support. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
Good night and God bless you from the great Ronald Reagan. David Webb, thank you for the great show that you just did. It was a terrific hour, and we're back with one more. I'm Judge Andrew Napolitano, and you're watching our continuing coverage of Fox Nation's special midterm election coverage. Let's get started. Joining me now here in studio is conservative commentator and my longtime buddy Lawrence Jones, Fox Nation's host of The Next Revolution, Steve Hilton, and Fox News contributor and good friend Jessica Tarlov. So we're inside the Fox News World Headquarters, but check out the party that's happening outside. We have a huge setup on Fox Square, which is really the corner of 48th Street and 6th Avenue, where our wonderful fans have been visiting.
It's a square.
Right? I knew I didn't correct it. Where our wonderful fans have been visiting all day and chatting with us. Fox Nation host Tomi Lahren and conservative commentator and performer Kaya Jones are down there right now, and they'll be right back up here in a couple of minutes to tell us what the guys, what the fans are saying. Here's more info for Fox Nation. If you sign up for a year subscription right now, you'll get $5 off the normal $64.99 price and this exclusive Founder Challenge coin. For $130, you get Fox Nation Founder hat and a 2-year subscription, plus the Founder Challenge coin. For $280, we're finally in Steve Hilton territory.
Thank you very much.
You get this awesome gift box. It includes a 3-year subscription and an engraved set and the metal challenge coin. You definitely want this. A Fox Nation Founder tactical watch. This is the watch that Dave Webb had on his wrist that he said nobody could get off. You can get a silver or black plus a 3-year subscription and everything else we've just shown you for just $1,200. Now we're really in Hilton territory.
Exactly, I'm going for
For
that.
a limited time only, we're offering you a chance to become a part of Fox Nation at its founding by signing up as a founder. By becoming a founding member, you'll get exclusive merchandise that is only available between now and November 27th, when we launch. So sign up now at foxnation.com. All right, my dear friends, here we are. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. We might be on the cusp of some really changing events tonight. The president might keep both houses of Congress. The Democrats might take the House of Representatives. Jesse, I know what you want to happen. What do you think will happen?
I think what I want to happen is going to happen. It looks like when you kind of been following the Cook political report, which is totally nonpartisan, they shifted 10 House races in Democrat direction yesterday and the day before, which was a good sign. Turnout levels in early voting, a good sign, and young voter registration, 1.5 million new voters for the midterms, which is basically unheard of.
Right.
A lot of that from these celebrity candidates that get everyone so excited, even if you're not in their state, like Beto, Stacey Abrams, Andrew Gilliam. So it's looking good. It's early on. I was happy to see Tim Kaine win his seat back. Sherrod Brown, they just called it for. It's going to be a really long night, though.
Do you have the same feeling, Steve Hilton, that this is a big night for the Democrats? It's early, and I know Jessica
It
is
is
just
early.
filled with enthusiasm.
Well, I think
here.
it's two different nights, actually. I think that's one of the
Let me hear
interesting
it. things
that's happening, is that you've almost got two different elections going on with two different electorates. And the House and the Senate represent that. And I think that the thing that actually has been the conventional wisdom for quite a while now, it looks like that's the direction it's heading in, where you have strong Democratic results in the House, but the Republicans also doing well in the Senate because of the nature of the electorate and the places where the election is going on. I think the really interesting thing for me is going to be looking at the data of if there is a big Democratic vote, where's that coming from?
Right.
And in particular, I'm interested in the economic aspect of that, because one of the things that I think is that you've got this election is really, in a way, style versus substance. You've got a really solid record of achievement from President Trump, particularly on the economy. But a lot of the people who are turning out, these new people coming to vote on the Democratic side, they don't care about that. They want to send a message about how much they hate Donald Trump.
Well, that also Lawrence Jones, have the Republicans successfully sold the economy this election?
Well, they didn't touch it. I mean, late in the election cycle, the president in the last 2 weeks decided to make this about immigration. Now, I do think there's an element of Americans that are very fearful. There's an element of Americans that don't like what they're seeing on the border. But it also isn't saying what you're for as well. And this was an opportunity for the Republicans to say, we got the tax cuts done.
Was this the president's decision, or are Republicans just lousy at selling what their good points are?
Well, I think that's part of the problem. This was the president's decision. That being said, though, every candidate has to run their own race. I think there was a lot of stock being put in the president. These are local races where, for example, I'm looking at data right now. Pete Sessions, one of in Texas, right? A chairman, and he's down to a Democrat right now in the district. A stronghold. Pete didn't run his race.
Did Donald Trump suck all the air out of the room, or did he let people like Pete Sessions in Texas and Leonard Lance in New Jersey, longtime veterans who were both in trouble, did he let them run their own races?
I think to a certain extent. He definitely, towards the end of the election cycle, learned the lesson of some people might not want you to visit, and that's just fine, because you're going to be a lot happier if they keep their seats. But talking about the economy, it actually turns out that Republicans had a majority of their ads focused on the economy. The issue was what was coming out of their mouths and what the president was saying, and he's a lot louder than everybody else. And if you look at the exit polls, you see healthcare as the overwhelming #1 issue by 15 plus points, followed by immigration and then the economy. And to think at a time when you have record low unemployment, you have great labor force participation rates, you have a good stock market, that the economy is the third most important issue, that's astounding, followed by #4, guns, which is an issue that favors Democrats resoundingly.
I want to challenge this idea that somehow there was some big decision to make it all about immigration and not about the economy. First of all, that doesn't reflect the actual breadth of the messages that you heard from the president at the rallies and so on and throughout the last few weeks. But the really important point is that immigration is also an economic issue. One of the reasons that people have been suffering in the economy for so long is because, and particularly the working Americans who President Trump was elected to represent particularly, is uncontrolled immigration. It's an economic issue.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I don't think that the President of the United States offered immigration as an economic issue. I think he offered it as a security issue. And when he gave that talk in the Oval Office last Thursday afternoon, with the whole country watching about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, wasn't he trying to say this is the issue? It was the same week. It was within 48 hours when he addressed birth citizenship, and when he said, "I'm sending 15,000 troops there, and they're going to build barbed wire fences." Wasn't that his thing?
No, but yes, but you don't know that wasn't actually a positive for the Republicans. We're talking as if, the election's over and
we don't know.
First of all, we don't know, but even if
it's 8:15 at night, we don't know.
But let's just, even if you make an assumption that it's a good night for the Democrats, particularly in the House, the idea that somehow that particular focus on immigration at that point was a negative, it doesn't necessarily follow. It could be
Lawrence,
that actually it got more people. It got more people out.
Are you with me on this?
Well, I know.
Don't personalize it.
Here's the thing. There's two problems. I agree with Steve in the point that it is a big issue for Americans, especially Donald Trump started his campaign on the issue of immigration. So this is something.
But from the security point of view, not the economic point of view.
No, I totally get that. But here's the deal. The voters wanted to see what each candidate was for and what they were able to accomplish. To Jessica's point, the Republicans did have to deal with health care because for 6 years, they said we're going to repeal and replace. And since they failed on that, the voters are going to hold them accountable for that. So, sorry, voters don't go to the polls when you do something right. They go to the polls when you do something wrong.
Anger and fear is a better motivator than happiness and love. Is that what he's saying? And do you agree?
It is. Harris Faulkner always says they don't show up at the polls to say thank you.
They show up at the polls to say get out.
I'm scared. Get out. I don't have money in my pockets. I'm worried about this, but that does matter here, and why actually the president's framing of the immigration issue as a national security one is a smarter election strategy than making it about the economy. Because Republicans have lost the health care argument, A, because they don't have a plan, and that's why they've pivoted towards pretending as if they were going to protect pre-existing conditions.
Have some plans, but
well, repealing Obamacare means getting rid of protections for pre-existing conditions, flat out. There are so many candidates up tonight that are on tape saying, get rid of Obamacare, which means I'm not covering your pre-existing conditions. So they had to pivot there. Maybe some voters believe that now they'll see the light and do that, but scaring people gets them to turn out.
Did the Republicans make a mistake by attempting to repeal Obamacare without an adequate and meaningful replacement at the time of the attempted repeals?
Oh, yeah. I think that the single biggest strategic mistake of the last 2 years actually was the president handing over the policy reins, if you like, to Paul Ryan in those early days, because he was elected, remember, as a populist, not a traditional Republican. He beat the Republicans.
But Steve, that's their job, though.
Hang on a second. No.
The president does not make legislation.
I just want to stop for a second because this is one of Jesse's favorite people, Senator Brown, reelected in Ohio.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
All right, now back
my point is that the Republicans, I've said this many times, the Republicans lost the 2016 election. Donald Trump, he was not a Republican. He had a very different perspective and a message, a less ideological one, a much more pragmatic one. He ran on, remember his message on healthcare was not the ideologically driven reforms that you've heard.
But he's not a policy guy, Steve.
Hang on a second. Was not the ideologically driven reform message that you'd heard from the congressional Republicans for so long. That message was defeated in the Republican primary. He ran on a message which was, remember what he said on healthcare, we're going to take care of everyone. He talked about the Australian system, which is nothing like what Paul Ryan came out with. And so what really happened was that the strategy and the message that helped elect Donald Trump was completely at odds with what then came out of the Congress.
But will the new Republican Party be consistent, more consistent with Donald Trump and less consistent by new Republican Party?
I hope so. I've
whatever
always said,
comes in the House in January.
I've always said that, and the Senate, because I've always said that what the president needs is more allies who are on his side, who are more like him in terms of populists.
And you know I love you. Donald Trump was not a Republican.
That's right. He needs more populists. Allies, conservative populists, if you like, not the traditional ideologically driven Republicans. And I think the candidates that are going to be left in the House and the new ones that are coming into the Senate
populism does not work.
Lawrence, let him have it.
Are more like him.
Let me tell you
and that's a good thing.
Why my friend Steve is wrong. Because populism doesn't sell when you have individual congressmen running an individual district, which is why, if you look at the results right now coming in, we're struggling in the House. That's good for a national race, but when you're talking about individual congressmen running,
why would populism work for Donald Trump, the nationwide candidate, and not for individual Republicans in discrete congressional districts?
Because each individual district has different needs. You can't.
All politics is local.
Everything is local.
I don't quite know what the point you're making. The populist argument, for example, is you can go issue by issue. And there are areas where there's a real overlap and alignment between what you could describe as traditional conservatism and the Donald Trump modern populism. For example, on the tax reform, that's an area where there's a complete alignment. You want economic growth that particularly lifts the living standards of working Americans. But on trade, for example, there's a real difference.
Yeah, but people don't care.
And he's on the right side of that argument.
But the problem is, in these districts, people aren't caring about trade. Healthcare. Did you get healthcare done? Did you get immigration done?
What does get done mean? It means
okay, when you have people dying in the healthcare exchange,
it means giving you
and you had a Republican Congress that promised for 6 years that they were going to deliver, and there was no bill
that would have made it worse. Their plan would have made more people suffer.
Steve, I agree with you. But
two Republicans trying to kill each other.
I'm loving it personally.
It can't be either their plan or we do nothing. That wasn't the deal.
They should have listened to the message of the 2016 election, which is that people wanted Donald Trump as a different kind of...
the message was repeal and replace.
Time out. I'm being told we have to take a break. Time out just a second. Because I see some people ready to come on the set. If you sign up for a year subscription right now, you get $5 off the normal $64.99 price and this exclusive Founder Challenge coin. For $130, you'll get the Fox Nation Founder hat, a 2-year subscription, plus the Founder Challenge coin. For $280, you get this awesome gift box. Jesse, you have to have this. It includes a 3-year subscription and an engraved glass set, metal, and the challenge coin. You really want this. A Fox Nation Founder Tactical Watch, the one that Dave Webb said no one will ever get off his wrist. You can get it in silver or black, plus a 3-year subscription, and everything else we've just shown you for $1,200. Now is the time to do it. For a limited time only, we're offering you a chance to become a part of Fox Nation by signing up as a founder. By becoming a founding member, you'll get exclusive merchandise that's only available between now and when we launch daily on November 27th. So sign up now at foxnation.com. Our new premium subscription service, Fox Nation, launches, as I just mentioned, on November 27th. It's an on-demand service with daily live opinion shows, just like you're watching now, and documentaries that you're going to love, featuring exclusive content from your favorite Fox News hosts. Here is a sneak peek at what you'll only be able to see at Fox Nation.
If you're going to name Bork, then you're going to be in an epic ideological battle.
Robert Bork's America is a land in which women would be forced into back alley abortions, segregated lunch counters, midnight raids. School children could not be taught about evolution.
I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "We got to get him."
I should have grabbed him by the lapels and say, "You want to get confirmed? Shut up and listen."
Women fear you, blacks as well.
Those are most unfair characterizations of my view.
It really was watching this giant versus the pygmies.
For the last 30 years, the process has been non-functional. The problem is politics.
What happened has become a verb to Bork. It means to destroy.
Kaya, okay. Oh! All right, we're back. So, listen, it's been great having this conversation. We're sort of, rotating chairs tonight. Where are you going after this?
I'm going to be on FNC, rejoining the election show.
And I shall
There'll
see
be
you.
more results by the time I talk about it next.
There are a lot more results. Jesse, will I see you before this? I'm here till 1 a.m, so I know I'll see you before the night's over.
Yes, definitely. I hope I get out of here a little bit earlier than 1. We're going down to the Fox Nation tent, and then I'll be heading over to FNC as well on about 9:30.
Before we make this switch, I want your opinion as a Democrat. What advice would you give if the Democrats take the House? Investigate or legislate?
I'm going to go legislate. I think.
Is that because you're a good person, or you really think that they're going to do this?
Both, in fact. I
Don't try and trap her, Lawrence. She always has an answer.
If the blue wave happens tonight, it will be sending a clear message to Democrats that they got elected on issues. They got elected to fix the healthcare system. They got elected to fix the immigration system. They got elected to fix gridlock in Washington. I don't think there is a Steve's shaking his head, but there is a far left quotient that is only voting to do that, to get Donald Trump impeached. But that's not what Jerry Nadler is going to do. That Nancy Pelosi has toned it down. I think that they know if you want a good chance in 2020, you've got to play nice to a certain degree. And Donald Trump, remember, was a liberal who likes to do infrastructure.
All right, Steve, can the Democrats resist the temptation to investigate everything from his cell phone to his the rents that he earns from his hotels?
No. And I
cannot resist
they can't resist resisting. And I think that I really want to challenge what we just heard there, because the resistance started the day after the 2016 election.
That's correct.
Literally know the people who were part of organizing it. It wasn't because they saw that Donald Trump and the Republicans had failed to reform healthcare and then they had to go. No, and I totally disagree with you, Jess. The reason that if they have a good night, it would be nothing to do with issues, because of the hatred of Donald Trump. Tonight, if that happens, it will be a revenge of the elites for what happened
Lawrence,
in 2016.
not what should they do, because you're a Republican. What do you think they will do? What will Maxine Waters, Elijah Cummings, Jerry Nadler, Nancy Pelosi do with their newfound power if this trend that we've discerned continues for the night?
Look, I think Nancy, because she is a politician, will try to play nice. That being said, the Democratic chairmanships in the base of the party
These
will
are pretty radical people.
Yes, they will drive for investigation. If people weren't fans of Benghazi, just imagine what you're going to get in a democratically controlled chairmanships. I think they have to do something because their base is going to put pressure on them to do something. Will Nancy say call off the dogs? Who knows? Because she has a tough re-election.
Jesse, if they try to wreck Donald Trump's presidency, will they have to answer for it in 2020?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. Again, to what Steve was saying, and I understand your partial disagreement there is a base element that will be satisfied by that, but I disagree about the fact that the resistance started the day after because of the policies the president ran on. Like, no one liked his personality. And a lot of Republicans didn't, but they held their nose and they voted for him so you could get Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, which has worked out mighty fine for a lot of Republicans. So it is actually issues-based. The Republican platform is anathema to our set of values. And we will look to our leaders to be moving ahead on policy issues where they can get something done. And if we have a majority, it's not going to be that huge.
Right.
It's going to be 3 or 4 seats. We're not going to get something done without them.
And if the Democrats do have the majority...
Well, fine by me.
But if the Democrats do have the majority, presumably the Republicans will have the Senate.
Right.
And the president is in the White House. This forces either gridlock or compromise.
Oh, there's not going to be compromise.
Can Donald Trump compromise? Because Chuck Schumer wants a new JFK airport. Donald Trump would like to build that.
I think in many ways he'd be in his element there.
Yes.
And actually
building. Yeah. Compromising.
Right.
And with his old friends.
And remember that he will be focused on his re-election and wants to continue to show results. I think he's had spectacular results so far, better than anyone could have imagined, and he'll want to continue that.
Well, Lawrence, why did you say no? And why does the word compromise scare you? What would the president do with the Democratic House?
Well, more spending, infrastructure bills.
He likes to spend.
Right, and I don't like spending.
I'm with you and I are on the same page on that, but the president is not.
Well, he does, but I don't think the conservative members of a Senate is going to go along with that. Okay. And so I think we only go to more gridlock.
All right, Steve, Jesse, we'll see you downstairs at FNC. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Great to see you. Remember, everyone's got to sign up, right?
Sign up. Some heat and lots of light.
Do it now.
There you go.
Sign up now.
There you go.
FoxNation.com.
There you go.
All right, where are we going? Where are my producers telling me to go? All right. Watch this about Chappaquiddick.
The Kennedys were part of this story that Americans told.
You know, the whole era of Camelot, it's our royal family.
A bullet struck President Kennedy.
Let's win there. Thank you. Are there any more doctors in the House?
The entire weight of the family dynasty goes on the shoulders of Ted Kennedy.
Camelot ended the morning the police chief found that car.
They found a body in it.
It was Mary Jo Kopechne.
Senator Kennedy, what have you done? It's been 10 hours and you haven't told anybody.
The tragedy on Martha's Vineyard has raised more questions than have been answered.
Ted Kennedy fled to Hyannisport, where his brain trust was waiting.
The Kennedy name ran that part of the United States.
The chief says, Senator Kennedy, obviously we need to talk to you. Can you come down here? And Kennedy says, I'd prefer you come to me.
How is it things moved so quickly for the body to be embalmed and the body to be sent back to Pennsylvania?
There was supposed to be an autopsy.
They tried to get away with it.
A lot of cameras, a lot of shouting. Kennedy in the neck brace.
The message of that neck brace was absolutely clear.
And she said, I can't do this. They said, you have to do it. Here come the cars. We wanted to find out what happened. And it was a stonewall from the beginning.
I hope that I shall be able to put this most recent tragedy behind me.
All they cared about was protecting his political career.
You can either tell the dull and damning details of what happened that night, or you can try to save the magic.
There is no truth to the widely circulated suspicions.
Why did no one go to her parents? Why did no one speak about this night at all?
He did not look like somebody that had been in an accident 8 hours later.
Did he try to get Mary Jo out, truly out?
There have been people that have come forward with lots of theories.
And here we are 50 years later, we still don't know the whole story.
I have an inkling that something so horrific happened in Chappaquiddick that everyone had something to lose if it came out.
The story of Camelot only works if it has magic. He used up all the magic. There was no magic left.
Hey, welcome back to Fox Nation Live. We're on the 14th floor of the Fox building, but downstairs at the corner of 48th Street and 6th Avenue, which is now called Fox Square, there is excitement like you won't believe. We have been promoting and offering and welcoming all of our Fox Nation founders to this wonderful, exciting location. Take a look at some of the excitement that's going on down there, because while we were watching a little bit of a documentary about Chappaquiddick, we were joined by two of my dear friends who just came up from downstairs, my Fox Nation colleague Tomi Lahren and Kaya Jones. Lawrence Jones remains with me. How wild is it down there? How enthusiastic is that crowd?
People love Fox News and they love Fox Nation.
And they're showing it.
Oh, of course they are. Everyone's walking around with their foam fingers or signing up for Fox Nation. We have Fox News, Fox Nation fans like no other network, no other media platform. I think we're far cooler than MTV, VH1, and the rest of them, really. If you look at the people...
You're just saying that because you're from California?
I'm telling you, Fox Nation it's going to be a big thing. We got buttons. I mean, CNN's not going to give you this kind of stuff.
Kaya, what did you feel downstairs at the corner of 6th
They're
and 48th?
engaged. They're super engaged. They want to say hi to every single person they've seen come through the doors of Fox. They're really excited.
You know, I was down there at 8 o'clock this morning, so that's 12 and a half hours ago. They were engaged then. I don't know if it's the same human beings.
No, they've been making their ways, right?
Yeah, no, some have been there all day.
All right.
No, really, they have.
All right, to politics. Are you sort of getting the trend that the president might not be happy with the House of Representatives a few hours from now?
I was
getting that feel?
Yeah, I've been getting that feeling for the last few hours.
And do you expect that they will investigate or legislate? Will they compromise with Donald Trump and build the infrastructure of things that he wants? Will they not want to spend the money because of the libertarian strain in the Republicans that don't want to spend the money? What do you think is going to happen? Or they want to wreck his presidency?
If they were smart, they would have actual agenda items. But how long has it been? 2 years? We've seen no agenda items. People say that the number one issue they care about is health care, immigration, the economy. They're not talking about any of those things. The ones that you're really seeing getting the media attention and being like the face of the party, they're just anti-Trump, Trump deranged, pink hat wearing freaks, really.
Kaya, what do you say? What should we expect of the more radical leadership of the Democrats? And for better or for worse, these are the people that will assume power. Nancy Pelosi as either
that just scares
Speaker
me
of the
right
House
there.
of Representatives,
Just
Elijah Cummings as the head of government oversight and reform. Maxine Waters is in charge of finance
we just throw
and banking.
George Soros into that.
Adam Schiff is in charge of intelligence. Jerry Nadler is in charge of
I think they're going to try and
judiciary.
impeach him. I think they never wanted him to win. That was not their man when it came to this election. 2 years ago, they wanted Hillary, and they have not conceded since that night. It has been a constant resist, And I mean, their whole platform is running on a healthcare plan that they built.
Lawrence, can the president compromise with these radical lefties?
Well, I think the president can. This is the president that has worked with Democrats before. He's a former Democrat. He doesn't really have an ideology per se, so I think the president can work with him. That being said, I'm not sure how I feel about the president working with them because, as I said in the last block, I'm not looking for more spending from Washington. I'm not looking for an increase in debt. And I'm also not looking for more liberal solutions.
Right, but you and I are on the same page when it comes to spending, and you and I fear debt. I don't know how Kaya and Tomi feel about that. The only thing he can do to compromise with these Democrats is to spend money that we don't have. He's not going to raise taxes, so he's going to have to borrow.
Right, and I think the president will do that. But again, Republicans have nobody to blame but themselves. In the House, people don't like me saying this, but you said that you were going to repeal and replace. You didn't get it done. This wouldn't be an issue for the Democrats if we would have gotten certain things done. And because they failed, it's a problem.
Did the Republicans, and we don't know the outcome yet, we're just looking at some trends. It's 8:30 at night. This is going to go on for a few more hours. Did the Republicans fail to sell the financial benefits of the tax cut?
Yeah, I think that was part of it.
Why? How could they do that?
The president has done a good job of it, I believe. But no, I say it over and over again because I think it's most important. The thing that I am most disappointed in is Republicans and their inability to get funding for a wall. That was the very clear message from the voters in 2016 above anything else. Everyone wants the economy, everyone wants health care, but it was a wall.
So do you think that people that want, I don't, but let's not argue the ideology of the wall. Do you think that people that want the wall voted for Democrats to punish the Republicans?
No, but I think had they had that accomplishment, if they would have gotten the funding for that, it would have been in motion. I think that we would see even more excitement, and I think that you would see those Trump supporters really come out and vote red, where some of them might sit back and say, why am I going to put Republicans in power again? Because they didn't do anything. They had every opportunity and they didn't do anything.
Is the House of Representatives going to pass legislation that will limit our gun rights?
I hope to God not.
But this is a big mantra with the Democrats.
We know it is, but I mean, that's...
Do we have
it won't pass the Senate.
I was just going to ask. Can't imagine it passing the Senate. I mean, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi can make all the deals they want, but unless some crazy thing happens tonight and Chuck Schumer gets Mitch McConnell's job, it's not going to pass the Senate.
No, it won't get past the Senate, but they'd have to take the Senate in order to get passed. But I mean, they're going to push for impeachment. We know that.
I want to say something. Judge, you noted this about selling the tax cuts. I disagree with some of the analysis on the whole tax cuts because I don't believe you should have to sell to the American people having more money in their pocket. At the end of the day, the American people know how they feel about it.
But they think Obama gave it to them. A lot of people think that Obama gave them more money in their pocket.
I don't know one Democrat that voted for that tax cut. Do we know?
They don't, but they think that the economic gains that have been made and the jobs, a lot of Democrats still credit that to Barack Obama. It's a messaging problem.
All right, let me switch gears a little bit. If that crowd that's in the tent were in this room now, we're 14 floors above them, but if they were right there on the other side of the camera, Tomi Lahren, what would you say to them?
Well, of course, I would say thank you for being Fox Nation founders, because a lot of those people in that tent, they're signing up for something that they largely haven't even seen yet, and they're still excited.
So they have a lot of faith in us to do that.
Yeah, and they should, because we're going to make them very proud come November 27th.
It fills a void, Judge. There's a lot of people in the audience that feel forgotten. They feel like there are cable channels that don't represent them. They want people that are going to get into the issue, focus on them, and I think this is a platform for that.
Did you guys take a lot of pictures with people down there?
We did.
Yeah,
we took a ton of pictures.
Oh, here they are.
Yes.
Now, who are these people? These are just admirers of the two of you and of Fox and everything Fox stands
founders too. They've signed up to be Fox Nation subscribers.
Okay.
And beyond that, these are people that are brave enough to wear not only Fox stuff, but also Trump stuff.
Oh my God, he has
and American flags out in New York City. That's bravery. That's
I
Fox
agree.
Nation
I
fan.
agree with you that is bravery, and that's the crowd that they have been there all day. But Tomi, I was down there. I did not get as many photographs as you did. Don't say what you're thinking.
You went down at 8 a.m. though.
Right.
You got to go down now that people are excited. And I don't know what it is, I think.
All right. It's a very happy time. So we can probably tell people what you and I are going to be doing. You're going to be tossing to me on Monday through Thursday at 9:30 in the morning, and then I'm going to start. Except you're going to be in California and I'm going to be in New York, and somehow we're going to make that happen.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some first thoughts.
So,
leading right on into you, but it's...
So you are the opening shot at 9 o'clock in the morning on November 27th.
Yep.
Do you know now what you're going to talk about, or does it depend what the news is on November 26th?
It's the news of the day. Let's hope it's good news of the day.
Yes.
But hey, I'm going to tell you this. Worst case scenario, if things go way wrong tonight, at least in the coming months, you and I are going to have a whole lot to talk about because the Trump deranged crowd, they're not going anywhere, and they have a lot of fodder for my final thoughts and first thoughts.
If the Democrats take the House tonight, whether it's by 2 votes or by 30 votes, is it a repudiation of the president?
No. And I think people are getting that confused.
I want you to explain why you say no.
This is the district. Did the congressmen, the elected officials in the House and Senate do what they said they were going to do for their constituents? I think the president's agenda is different from the House and the Senate's agenda. And I think the connection that he has with his voters is much different. I think there were a lot of people in the House and Senate, and even some of these governor races, that were begging the president to come save them. It's not about the president, it's about the agenda.
Kaya, do you expect that our friends up the road at the New York Times, if the Democrats take the House, whether it's by 2 or by 30, will claim this is a repudiation of the president?
100%, and it's going to be...
They've been aching to say that.
They've been waiting and aching because in their mind it was, an election that was built on, collusion and all of the things that no one's found still. So in their mind, it would be, here it is, here's our chance to impeach him. They're going to go with that narrative, which is the dumbest thing that they could possibly do. Because if you actually want to work across the aisle now with him, you've just set a course of action for all of us in 2020.
Make the argument that even though this president worked harder than any president in my memory in a midterm election, he worked as if he were literally on the ballot. Make the argument that this is not if the Democrat trend continues, this is not a rejection of him.
I think Democrats are energized, and we should take note of that. I think that, again, our messaging, Donald Trump has been doing an amazing job, and I look to what he's been doing just in the last few days. Hillary Clinton couldn't last one day. I mean, she would have to take a nap. Barack Obama Barack Obama went out and he was already losing his voice after like a day. No one is Donald Trump.
Congressman Jerry Nadler, who represents the part of Manhattan we are in right now, who is likely to be the next chair of the House Judiciary Committee, which is the place under the Constitution where impeachment would originate, gave an interview a month ago in which he said, we will start an investigation leading to the impeachment of President Trump in January, and we will start an investigation intended to lead the impeachment, don't ask me where this is going to go, of Justice Kavanaugh in January.
That's the best thing for the president going into 2020.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you. I also want to ask you, were the Democrats deceptive or were they smart? Not a single one of them used the word impeachment during the campaign. Kaya.
But they did with media. That's all they pushed for. And so did Maxine Waters. Impeach Trump, impeach Trump. But she was safe,
she's an aberration. She's an aberration.
She's in California.
Yeah,
it's not a tough
get in their faces. Get in their faces.
In
Don't
California,
let them walk away.
where you live and work, is impeachment amongst Democrats? Is it a hot issue?
Yeah, no, it is, but that's because it's California. But I will tell you this, people on the left that are on the far left, they forget about that huge swath of country in the middle.
Right.
And they think that the stuff that they sell to kooky Hollywood stars is going to be the same impact it has on middle America. It's not. So if they continue down that path, I agree with Lawrence, that's the best thing that could happen to the Republican Party and Donald Trump is for them to continue on this tirade that they're on.
There was a failure for Republicans in the sense of the cuckoo birds of the Democratic Party. We tried to paint the entire Democratic Party as that. The problem where it didn't work was those candidates in these tough districts, they didn't have the impeach message. They knew they couldn't win.
Right.
They tried to get closer to the president. I don't know, it probably wasn't genuine, but they didn't take the Maxine Waters talking point.
Are the Democrats smart enough to reject Mrs. Pelosi?
No.
And to put somebody like Tim Ryan,
she's too powerful.
Irish,
She's way too
Catholic,
powerful.
lawyer, conservative Democrat who's run against her twice and she clobbered him both times.
Yeah, they attempted to dupe their constituents and saying, we're going to distance ourselves from Nancy Pelosi. We are not the far left. But as soon as they get in, mark my words, there is too much money and there's too much influence behind Nancy Pelosi.
Money. Is it because she's their best fundraiser, or is it because they're as far left as she is that she will probably be the Speaker of the House the first week in January?
I think a lot of them are as far left, but they are moving further to the left because they think that's a winning strategy, again, because they ignore the middle. But it's the money and the influence. They're not going to cross Nancy.
will the libertarian Republicans in the House, where you and I would be if we were in the
Freedom
House,
Caucus,
right, resist the compromise that results in rebuilding JFK Airport, repaving Route 80, whatever kind of grandiose infrastructure projects the president and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi will agree to?
They will resist, but look, Judge, we're talking about 20 people, all right? Like, they will resist. They will do, right now, they have to fight their own party, okay? So they can only do so much. The people, the McConnell types, I don't see much resisting out of McConnell. I think he's going to go along with the get along and try to get something passed.
When Republicans are in the minority in the House, are they liberated to resist the president? Whereas they're not today when they're in the majority. They're in lockstep with him. Follow me? Do you buy that argument?
I think they're again, back to the freedom people.
Right.
They will go along with it, but I think that they're going to be fighting for their lives because they're going to have another election in 2 years.
So who will rise in the Republican Party in the House? Will it be Jim Jordan and the small government people, or will it be the same old tired Republican leadership like McCarthy and Scalise that have been Ryan's deputies?
It's unfortunate. I do think that if we get our messaging right, limited government is just winning, no matter who you are, no matter
but that means Jim Jordan. That does not mean McCarthy.
Exactly, and I think that we need to sell that point.
There's no way Jim wins. I love Jim. Respect him, stands with him, but...
Why is there no way he wins? Do Republicans not have the courage of their convictions? Are they not a small government party?
That's correct. Have we seen the increase of spending? I mean, come on.
Well, Donald Trump wants to borrow and spend money, even though he once said he could get rid of the national debt in 8 years. That's obviously not happening because he's added $1 trillion to it already in his first 18 months in office.
Although I'm critical of the president at times, I never expected the president to be a lock spending guy. Again, he's not an ideologue. He's not a partisan. He's a guy that wants to get something done.
He understands that the money he borrows today, his grandchildren are going to be paying interest on.
Totally agree with you. But I hold Congress responsible when it comes to passing these laws to resist the spending, to not get along just to get along with Democrats.
You are a Republican member of the House of Representatives, and the President and Speaker Pelosi have agreed to spend $50 billion to repave every federally constructed highway in the United States. Kaya Jones, you vote in favor or against?
100% against.
Why?
Because we know that that's all their friends and people are pocketing the money. We would see the change in these cities. We don't see the change in these cities. Why is it that Los Angeles has the amount of people on the street homeless at this moment when they are constantly, we're giving here and we're giving there, we're building shelters? Really? It's not there.
Tommy, would you vote against this proposal if you were a member of Congress from California?
I would personally. I don't think that's going to happen.
In other words, you think that Republicans would vote in favor of this to make the president's compromise look good, even though the debt that would be added would be astronomical.
I think when people are always worried about the next election, it depends on how you're going to sell it. I think infrastructure is something that, at least on face value, the average American says, yeah, we want better roads and bridges. It's a hard thing to sell. Limited spending is a hard thing to sell.
You and I lose this argument, don't we?
Oh, definitely. The dirty little secret about Washington is that they all love compromise because everyone gets paid and all their buddies get paid.
I thought you were going to say they all love to spend. And they love to spend what they don't have.
Compromise means spending to me.
Illusions of grandeur.
I'll tell you this, though. Again, I'm going to go back to it because I think it is this important. If we figure out this immigration invasion problem, we can save a whole lot of money there. Let's save, because guess what? We talk about sending the debt that our children are going to have to pay and our children's children are going to have to pay. If we've got 11 to 30 million illegal immigrants living in this country, who the heck is going to pay for them? Look, we need to shut off this spigot of people, this invasion of people coming into our country. We need to save there too. This is not all just about we don't want to spend on infrastructure, whatever. Let's stop spending on illegal immigrants.
You just raised the temperature in this room.
Yeah, but that doesn't
with your passion.
Because I'm so sick of this.
I agree with Tommy to a certain extent. It's definitely a problem that we got to deal with, but we got to deal with entitlements as well. And that's the real, if you really want to cut spending,
Lawrence, I am with you 100%.
You got to do it. And nobody wants to touch it because
I am with you 100%,
elections.
but we would be in that 20 or 40 person minority in the House. Tommy is right. They're going to go along with this because they want to say to the voters in 2020, look at what we built for you. Forget about the bill. Look at what we built for you. I think we have some more pictures from downstairs in the excitement. Oh, take a look outside. All right, let's see. What's going on outside? All right.
Real change of tone there.
Look at those beautiful people.
Yes, there it is. Oh, that actually is the front of the Fox building. That is 6th Avenue. So to the left of that is where Brett Baer and Martha McCallum are hosting the Fox News coverage, where a lot of us will be before the night is over. That's a view from the roof of the excitement out there. I don't think the other networks,
every day.
all of which are located,
I vote for that.
I don't think the other networks, all of which are located within a few block radius of here, have this kind of excitement going on the streets.
They don't have fans like we do.
All right.
They also aren't the #1 network right now.
But even people that love other networks, they're not going to have their networks on a foam finger on a button.
So if I were to ask Tomi Lahren what made America great, she would probably tell me this.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Kilmeade, and welcome to What Made America Great.
In Texas, it's a shrine, stands for raw courage and valor and honor.
People are just pretty much in awe that this actually exists.
This place was filled with Civil War prisoners who were trying to get out of it.
We're here in front of the oldest building in New York City.
The Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton story is really the ultimate New York rivalry.
I'm going to bring you to Lincoln Memorial, but I'm going to bring you to a place that you've not seen before. None other than Mount Rushmore. I cannot believe we got to the top. Am I looking at
The Hall of Records.
All right, so are you sort of resigned to the Democratic takeover of the House?
I mean,
I mean, you live in the land of Democrats.
Never, but
you live in the one state where the taxes are worse than New Jersey.
But here's the deal. I'm also looking at California because I'm going to see if we're going to repeal the gas tax. So that's a big one I'm looking at. I know that we're probably going to have greasy Gavin Newsom as our governor. It makes me physically ill. I talked about it earlier. But when we say we're going to lose the House, would have been nice if we could have held both, yeah. But at the end of the day, as Lisa Booth said earlier, if we do lose the House, it's not like this is the Democrats are going to claim some kind of a huge, huge victory. But unless the numbers are sweeping, it's kind of just par for the course.
I agree with you. I think unless the numbers are sweeping, this argument that we know is going to come from the New York Times tomorrow morning, this is a rejection of the president personally, that argument will last about a week and then it'll be gone.
I'm looking at some of the comments on Facebook, and a lot of the fans are still saying that it's too early to call this.
All right. You know what? They are right to criticize us. We're going on the basis of trends.
And a lot of support still for the president. They're not blaming the president. They're still saying they stand with the president.
But if there's not a huge win, then all of the money that they spent is again proof that this is not about money. This is about passion of the American people. They spent a ton of money in 2016.
Should the president have been talking more about the tax cuts and less about immigration in the rallies that he had?
No, because this president, although he did talk a fair share about the economy and the tax cuts, which I think is important, but this president did what no other Republican has ever been able to do, and that's to really fire people up about the issues that for too long traditional Republicans have ignored or they try to sugarcoat. This president doesn't do that.
I did not hear an issue that you have become a national spokesperson on, gun control, or the absence of gun control. I did not hear that resonate in this election. Why? Because you know the Democrats are going to try and do something, and the Republicans in the Senate will stop them.
Because we had a lot of incidents this year with guns. So I think that's the thing. We have to focus on, it's also, we could talk about abortion,
Not an issue this year.
Well, but yeah, even though it's 48 million lives that have...
You were present and witnessed one of the most horrific mass slaughters in American history.
Yes.
In Las Vegas.
Yes, I was on
You
stage
were
an
on
hour
the
before.
stage when this happened.
An hour before it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And nobody down there had guns to fire back.
No, which is why I then gunned up. And now I'm a proud, supporter of the Second Amendment and love my guns.
I agreed with the president when, after the tragic slaughter in the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, he said, what's wrong with armed guards? Not cops wearing uniforms, but people in business suits like this who are off-duty or retired but well-trained police officers, like almost every building in this part of New York City has, which keep you comfortable and safe and, God forbid, are there if a crisis comes. What's wrong with that? Why does the left go crazy when he suggests that?
Because they don't like the idea of guns, just in general. Mostly because they don't understand guns, they don't own guns, they never shot a gun, never bought a gun. So it's foreign to them. They're
But
scared
Hillary
of it.
Clinton was protected and still is as a former first lady with as much firepower as she could possibly
It's always
imagine.
different for them, though, Judge. It's always a different standard because Hollywood, they feel like they are elite enough that they deserve protection, but the average everyday American doesn't. We are not afforded that right.
What is the attitude, as far as you know, in Las Vegas from and after the tragedy that you witnessed? That we should take care of ourselves because the police can't get there, which is the president's attitude, or that we should stop people from buying guns, which means only the thugs will get them?
Oh, yes. No, that's why it's important for Nevada to have red tonight because a lot of the different gun laws, one of them that they passed was the car was an extension of the home and that you didn't have to have a CCW to have your gun in your car.
CCW?
Your carry conceal.
Okay.
In order to be able to carry and walk around with your firearm. And that was something they were trying to overturn. The DNC started raising money 2 hours into the shooting. 3 hours into the shooting, we still didn't know what was going on.
I know the polls are not closed there yet, but is the Dean Heller-Jackie Rosen contest in Nevada, is guns an issue? Is Mrs. Rosen, Congresswoman Rosen, in favor of restricting your right to protect yourself?
Most of the blue is. That's their whole initiative and narrative.
They weren't really talking about that, though. I think that they know that wasn't the focus. It was immigration.
I did not hear guns and I did not hear abortion, and my job is to listen for this stuff.
Healthcare, immigration were the top two issues.
And the economy.
And what can you deliver on that? You have a president.
I got to challenge the libertarian in you. Now you know where I am.
I know.
Okay, what business does the federal government have telling insurance companies that they must cover people who are already sick? Hey, my house is on fire. Sell me homeowners insurance. Lawrence Jones.
They have no business doing it. You're talking with someone that has a mother that has a pre-existing condition as well. My mom has lupus, and our health care skyrocketed under Obamacare.
Right.
And we were doing fine. She didn't get to keep her doctor. So from a personal standpoint, from a human standpoint, and as a libertarian, I still have the same position.
God love you. God love you. But of course, this is so popular. The Republicans made a mistake when they tried to rescind all of it because they know that everybody wants pre-existing conditions covered, except the purest of libertarians, of which there are two at this table.
Well, it's all about feelings for the Democrats. They operate on feelings, and it's very easy to market feelings, especially in places like California and much of the East Coast. It's an easy sell to sell feelings because it sounds very harsh. You sound very unloving. That's the same thing with illegal immigrants. That's why they're able to get such a stronghold in a lot of these. And the messaging, we're just not doing a good enough job. And sometimes you have to say, life's tough, get a helmet. And people don't want to hear that.
Life's tough, get a helmet.
They want to hear like, get a helmet.
How many people in California say life's tough, get a helmet?
They don't. They get their needles and they shoot right up on the streets. That's,
and do
that's
they really
California.
they really like the tax burden they have there? Because my friends in New Jersey, they don't care about the taxes, even though we're the second highest in the union.
Because there is no middle class in California anymore. The middle class has all gone to Texas and Florida. That's why, God help Florida,
and
things
Nevada,
go awry tonight. Oh yeah, why do you think all these places that are suddenly becoming more purple or blue, why do you think they're getting that way? Because California has bled into them and they've brought their policies and their politicians with them.
All right, I know they want me to toss to another trailer, but I forget what it was. Patriots Almanac. Do you know what that is? Take a look.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
I plan to present a daily lesson of inspiration and information about the history, heroes, and achievements that sum up America.
May we come to know every part of our great heritage.
Every citizen of this country has a stake.
Tear down this wall.
We will remember another time and story each day, but it's always our America.
Love that, the Patriots Almanac. We're approaching the top of the hour. Kaya Jones, it's a pleasure to work with you. Your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is I'm scared out of my mind right now because we don't know what's about to happen, but we have a lot of different numbers coming in. So I think that we need to focus on 2020. And if it goes in the wrong direction, which it very well might, and my predictions would completely have been wrong because I said we were going to keep the House and keep the Senate. This is why you need to get out and vote. This is why you need to pay attention to what's going on and make sure that you vote in 2020 because they're going to try and impeach our man.
Tomi Lahren, my soon-to-be morning partner, starting on November 27th. Your final thoughts. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. We see some trends that are disturbing to Fox viewers.
Sure, well, I'll say this. I can tell you one thing about Trump supporters, Republicans, independents, libertarians.
Right.
If things go awry tonight, if things go very badly for us, let's say worst case scenario happens, we just lose it all over the place. I will tell you this about Trump supporters and American patriots, like those at this table. We will get up, we will go to work tomorrow. We won't scream at the sky, we won't have a cry-in, we won't ask for a safe space. We'll get up, we'll go to work, and we'll do what we always do, because we are not the left, and we can take a loss, and we can take a loss, and we can get ready to fight again.
Because we operate on the basis of reason rather than feelings.
Right, and the Republican students that are out there, they will go to school tomorrow, they will go to their classes, and we will continue on because that's what we do.
I might cry a little.
Lawrence Jones, are you going to sleep well tonight?
I agree with Tomi, but let me say this. I just saw polling data, 50% of the votes in right now in the state of Texas. Beto O'Rourke is up 51% to 48%, Ted Cruz. If we lose Texas, we lose liberty, okay? It's the last defending... this is all we got, from the economy to the Second Amendment. If we lose Texas, I mean, people, y'all better have gone to vote, because I can't imagine calling Beto my senator from Texas. I'm shaking right now.
Will divided government give more people an investment in government? Will more legislation come down that more people have something in it that they like? Example, Obamacare, no Republicans liked it. Trump tax cuts, no Democrats liked it. Will divided government give more people a piece of the action? Tomi.
I think, optimistically, yes. I think when you have skin in the game, it changes a lot of things. And you know what? Hey, guess what? If the Democrats get in and they want to raise your taxes and they don't want to secure your border, we have more skin in the game than ever. So I think let them have an epic failure, and we'll see you in 2020.
Kaya, on divided government, are there benefits on divided government? By divided government, I mean, one party controls one house, one party controls another house, and the White House.
No, I think it's dangerous. And by the way, it's only 39% with Texas, so it's not over yet. Okay. It is not over yet. I'm like, I can't concede on that one.
Lawrence Jones, on the merits or demerits of divided government, which we're probably going to wake up to tomorrow morning one way or another.
Look, it's only going to make us more tribalistic. I think it's going to anger the American voters.
Divided government makes us tribalistic? Divided government is going to, it is, because we should be able to agree on basic principles. You got people saying, let's abolish ICE, okay? Like, I don't understand I never thought that anybody that wanted to abolish ICE was serious.
Right?
Am I wrong?
No, they are.
Yeah, they are.
No, they definitely
Maxine Waters and that crowd are serious when they say abolish ICE.
There's no more Democratic Party. Serious. This is socialist, anarchist. Okay?
I think we're going to dig in harder than ever before.
All right, my dear friends, I don't know what we're going to wake up to tomorrow morning, but I do know that we had a wonderful conversation tonight. Kaya Jones, we have not met before. I feel like I've been working with you for months. Lawrence Jones is my buddy. He's what I want to look like when I grow up. And Tomi Lahren is my morning partner on Fox Nation starting at 9 a.m.
November 27th.
on Tuesday, November 27th. Whatever the outcome of this is, stay focused, stay with your principles, and stay at Fox.